Hey guys, this is Fitz and Toaster here. This is the Great Thousand Miles Rally. Sorry in advance, when I was trying to stream, the new update of Streamlabs completely borked my game audio and my layout, so you don't get to see my beautiful face or hear the game audio, but that's alright. So, here we go. This game has 12 levels, and we start on, you can do them in any order, and we're going to start on level 5 now. One of the big things about this game is really finding all the skips and the corners you can cut, and then turning as little as possible, to be honest. You want to spend as little time skidding and drifting as you possibly can. So you'll see right there, we cut that major corner. That's actually really tricky. There's sometimes you get forced by invisible walls out to the side, but I was practicing for a marathon and managed to PB, so that was pretty awesome. Alright, so that was a much better start than my last that you'd seen the reset there, so I decided to keep going. My goal here was my goal for a while, my sort of end goal, if you want to call it that, has been sub 1020, and I finally got it here. This is 1019, so I was really proud of that. The stage 6 here is pretty straightforward. Not really any skips here. There's one little corner cut here that's tricky, coming right there. Sometimes, again, you can get invisible walled out of that. It's really annoying. For those of you unfamiliar with this game, I'm going to be running it at the Race Against Time Marathon, and maybe you're watching this after that, and you saw this and you're interested. I'm going to be doing setting up a tutorial video as well, for anyone interested. It's very easy to emulate. The controls, my input display on screen here is using it looks like an arcade stick, but I am using a gamepad. And the game, even though it's a driving game, was designed with stick in mind. There was a version of the cab with wheels, wheel and pedals, and there's one that's stick and buttons, so it's very playable. This run actually has come together pretty well. I've actually gotten to the point where, with a few tiny exceptions, from what I can tell, it's just down to execution now. There's no more strategies to add. No more risky little tricks to add. Alright, we're on stage 8 now. This one's got some interesting stuff to it. This was one, I believe I saved a pretty good chunk of time here. But I saved time on almost every level of this run, which was nuts. Just my pace was absolutely just out of this world. As you can see, this was almost my 400th attempt, and that's it's not just 400 total, because I did a lot of offline grinding and a lot of I didn't even start using live split until I played enough online or offline to be able to 1cc this game. That took me a couple weeks to 1cc it regularly, so. Alright, moving on, level 9. I really wish we had game audio here. Maybe I'll add some cheesy music or something. Or maybe I'll just have to keep running again until I beat this, but I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. Like I said, what's cool about this run, this specific run for me, is that there's not much more to add. I used all the strats I wanted to, if you will. So it's just a matter of not improving the route or improving the tricks, but just improving the playing. There's the one of the only 2 times you get to pick a direction. Speaking of routes.
Alright, crushing it again.
Dropped a couple frames there, but that's alright. Alright. Moving on to stage 10, we're getting on about halfway through this run. And this stage is one of the more straightforward, so you'll see a lot of that double, triple, quadruple tapping on turns, which is to try to limit how much time I'm drifting and try to keep the car as straight as possible. It's a very high speed track. Right there I could have saved a little bit of time. That was not perfect. But as far as I'm concerned, 119 is just a beautiful run. My sum of best is in the 116 range, so it's definitely, there's some improvement, but
Monka ass, man.
Not a huge amount until I completely change something with my strats. This is the most technical stage, and I'm shocked that I actually gained time through this stage. And that little bounce did cost a tiny bit of time, but not much. And I would say this is where the nerves started to hit me a little bit, just being on this pace. But it wasn't so bad, because I had actually, before this run, I had been on, not quite this good, but I had been on PB pace or sub 120 or 1020 pace a few times today while I'm recording this. So I got used to choking these away. But after this, I love this stage. There's just barely any time spent on the roads. But after this, after stage 12, we go to a bunch of what should be the easy parts, and that's where the nerves were going nuts. I'm glad I don't have the Darbian heart rate monitor. Probably look like a freak. That right there isn't that bad. It looks stupid because you're hitting those cones, but that barely costs any time, to be honest. Alright, now we're on to stage 1, which is obviously not the first for us. This is where we start adding what I call the troll cars, right here. There's one of them. These cars, they start adding a bunch of traffic later in the game, and speeding up the timer to make it harder. They want to separate us from our money and our tokens. But those troll cars, their whole purpose is just to dive into you and try to run you off the road. And they will literally just plow into you and do that. Which is no fun. But thankfully they're pretty predictable. And by pretty, I mean almost completely. And by almost completely, I mean if they aren't predictable, I've never seen them. I must manipulate them if they're not always predictable, because they always do the same stuff. Now this actually, I was talking about the strategies and how this route is more or less optimum. There is one little bit here that I don't go for that I'm still not even sure it saves time, but I'll show you, I'll point it out. In this S turn, you can cut the second corner between the tree and the fence, right there. It should save, theoretically, maybe 2/10 or 3/10, but I don't, it's very hard for me. So I guess I accidentally lied. And here, especially track 4 and the next one, I start driving very safe. Now there is one cut here you might have seen me do before on this stage that I timed it out, and I spent about an hour save stating it and timing it out, and it seems like optimally it might save a few hundredths of a second, but it's not even consistently a time save, so I'm just not going to do it. That's right up here. You can dive in between that statue and the building, but even though it seems like it would shorten everything, it really doesn't. I was only able to shave a few hundredths optimally, and my way is much more consistent. My way, following the road, is much more consistent. Now, I kind of played like a wuss a little bit on stage 4 here. Not much. I still had a good run, but you can see I'm a little more careful than usual. This is where the nerves were hitting me, seriously. This should be the easiest track too, which is nice to have that at the end, but it's also the worst because I've lost record runs on this very track, and that's infuriating. And there's another cut, and home stretch right here. Last straight. And boom. Now you can hear me very quietly celebrating. I can't make noise in here. Beyond, talking.
Yes.
But
oh my God.
That's what I get for running
I actually did it.
late at night,
Holy
stuff like that.
shit.
But there you go. I love the English here. Congratulations.
Well,
it's a great prize.
Oh my God.
To get to see that.
Finally. 10:20. Oh my God.
So I'm really excited about that run. I'm going to retime it as we speak. It will already be retimed by the time you're hearing this. But
that was insane.
Yeah, there's the mile Miglia.
Yeah. Time to highlight that one.